This is the map that I'm going to prepare. It shows the study site at Louis Katali on the edge of Salonga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And there is an inset map to indicate the geographical location of the main map. To prepare this map, we need to start with the main window in QGIS, to which I've already added 6 map layers. For the main map, I'm going to use the 1 to 10 million scale country layer from Natural Earth. If we check the properties of this, you can see that I'm using a transparent fill with a border width of 0.16 millimeters, which gives the thickness of the lines that you can see there, the international borders. For geographical context, I'm using a raster layer at 1 to 10 million scale, also from Natural Earth. This is Natural Earth 1, which has land cover derived from satellite coverage and water bodies and rivers. The 2 polygons for Salonga National Park have been obtained from the World Database on Protected Areas. If we check the properties, you can see that I've used a default green colour and a transparency of about 40%, which makes the layers beneath the park, the map layers beneath the park, slightly visible. And finally, a single geographical point for the study site. If we check the properties, you can see that I've used a simple marker for this, square, with a width of 2 millimeters. This was imported from a text file. Now, by default, the units of this map are latitude and longitude degrees. But for a publication quality map with a scale bar in kilometers, we need to transform the map. I can do this by project properties, enable on-the-fly coordinate reference system transformation, and I'll choose pseudo Mercator, which gives me a reasonable looking map at this scale. Okay. To prepare our publication quality map, we need to use the print composer. New print composer, I'll call it Fig 1. Now, I want a map that is 79 times 79 millimeters in size to fit the single column width in a journal. So I'm going to, under page size, I'm going to set a custom width and height of 79.4 millimeters. This will give me a 79 times 79 millimeter map with a space of 0.2 millimeters, a very thin white space all the way around. I now switch to the Item Properties tab, and I'm going to add those 4 active layers from the main QGIS window. I do this with Add New Map. I'll try and centre it as best I can on the page. There we go. And I want this map to be at a scale of 16 million. 16 and 6 zeros. I'm going to use Move Item Content to centre it slightly so that the study site is approximately in the centre of the figure. I want a frame on the map, and I'll accept the default line thickness of 0.3 millimeters for the frame. And I'm going to use position and size to manually adjust the position of the map on the page. I want a width and height of 79 millimeters, and because I want a border of 0.2 millimeters all the way around, I need to set the origin of the map, the X and Y of the origin, which is in the top left hand corner, at 0.2 and 0.2. Save as we go along. I'm now going to add a geographical grid. I use that with grids, plus to add a new grid. I want my grid type to be frame and annotations only. Now the grid needs to be in degrees, not in kilometers, so I need to change the coordinate reference system to be WGS84, which means untransformed, i.e. in degrees of latitude and longitude only. I think that intervals of 5 degrees for latitude and longitude will be suitable for this map. And I want a frame that shows the interior ticks only, and I want those ticks to be 0.6 millimeters long. And I'll accept the frame line thickness of 0.3 millimeters for the ticks, which is the same thickness as the frame. I want to draw those coordinates, so I'll enable draw coordinates, but I don't want to show them on the left hand side, so I'll disable that, and I don't want to show them on the bottom either, so I'll disable that. In the top I want to show them inside the frame, and similarly on the right hand side. The font's too big. I'm going to change it to Arial Regular 6 point, which is about right. And I want the distance to the map frame to be 0.4 millimeters, and I don't want any decimal points on the minutes, so I'll set coordinate precision to be 0. But I do want to know whether I'm dealing with east or west or north or south, so I will set the format to be degree minute with suffix, and I think that looks reasonably neat. I'm now going to reposition the map content just slightly, again using move item content, so that the labels for here for longitude are not overlapping any country borders there. That's neater, but on the right hand side that's a bit awkward. There we go. Move it. That I think is approximately correct. Save as we go along. Now I want to add a scale bar. Add new scale bar. I want it in the bottom right hand corner. I want it to have one left segment and two right segment, and I want these segments to be 100 kilometers in width, which means that the fixed width here needs to be 100,000 because the map units are actually meters, so 100 kilometers is actually 100,000 meters. I want the height of the bar to be 1 millimeter, and I need to smarten up the display a bit. First of all, the font, I'm going to set that to be the same as the latitude and longitude tick labels, Arial Regular 6 point, and I'm going to tweak some aspects of the display. I want the labels margin, that is distance between the labels and the bar, to be 0.5 millimeters, and I want the line width to be 0.3 millimeters, and I think that looks quite neat. Again, save as we go along. Now I need to add my inset map. To do this I need to switch back to the main QGIS window and deactivate my 4 active map layers and activate 2 more map layers, which are at 1 to 50 million scale from natural Earth, the countries layer and the ocean layer. If we check the properties of the ocean layer, I've used a default blue for water and a transparency of 0, and I don't want any borders at all, so I've set the border style to be no pen. If we check the properties of the country layer, I've used a pale cream colour, 0 transparency, and I've set a solid line for the border as with the main map, and again a border width of 0.16 millimeter. Now if I switch back to the print composer, before I add the inset map I need to check on the item properties tab for map 0, my main map, whether I have locked the layers for the map item, otherwise I'll lose them when I add the inset map. I can now add my inset map, add new map. I'll try and position it here in the left hand corner. There we go. I want it to be at a scale of 135 million. I'll lock the layers so that I don't lose them, and I want the inset to be 1 millimeter from the edge of the frame of the main map. So I need to tweak the position and size slightly. I want my width and height to be 24 millimeters. I need to set X to be 1.2 and Y to be 54.2, and now the inset map is a neat 1 millimeter from the edge here. it also needs a frame. And again, I will accept the default frame line thickness of 0.3 millimeters. The last thing to do is to add an overview, using overviews here, plus for a new overview, to show the location of the main map on the inset. I need to tell it that the map frame for which we're showing an overview is map 0, which is the main map. There it is. That looks fine, but I don't like the red colour, so I'll change the frame style. I'm going to change it to black, and I'm going to retain the default transparency of 70%, but I am going to add a border style, a solid line of 0.16 millimeters. And again, save as we go along. The last thing I need to do is to add some labels to the map. Add new label, Louis Catali. The font is going to be Arial Regular 8 point. I'll readjust the text box slightly in size, position it near the study site. That looks fine. A further label now for Salonga National Park. I'm going to use a font which is 1 point smaller because it's not such an important label as the main study site, so Arial Regular 7 point. I'll adjust the size of the box, and I need to reposition it so that it lies fairly central on the two parts of the park. Again, save as we go along. I need to add a label for the country now. Democratic Republic of Congo. The font will again be Arial Regular 7 point. Readjust the size, and I want to space out the text so that it covers the width of the country. So I'm going to add single spaces between letters and 5 spaces between words. Should be just about right. Adjust the size of the box slightly and centre it on the country. That looks alright. I have one last label to add for the neighbouring country of Congo. About there. Congo. Again, I'll use a font size Arial Regular 7 point. Adjust the size slightly, and I'm going to rotate it 300 degrees and readjust it so that it spans the part of the country that we can see. I think the letters could be spaced out more. I'll add 2 more spaces between each letter. Readjust the label slightly and save it. The last thing I'm going to do is just to slightly reposition the scale bar so that the M lies neatly above one of the longitude ticks on the bottom margin. Save. Now I'm going to export this in TIFF format so that it can at a resolution that's suitable for publication. Export as image. I'm going to save it on my desktop, call it figure 1. TIFF format is selected. Save. I need it to have a resolution of 600 dpi, 600 dots per inch, for it to look sharp. That'll produce a figure that's going to be 1875 pixels wide and high. Save. And then we can have a look at our final figure. And now we can see that the exported TIFF format map looks absolutely fine. And if we want to check that this colour map will also look fine if it's printed or represented in some way in grayscale, we can go back to the print composer and use View, Preview, Simulate Photocopy Grayscale to check that it looks fine, which I think it does.